Okay, so yeah, we'll just kind of give a quick overview of the agenda here today. We're going to give a little bit brief overview of the update in general. We'll touch on how this is applicable to residential projects, how it will help us out in creating commercial estimates. From there, we'll get into a little bit of a demo, specifically highlighting some of these new features and enhancements. After that, I'll touch a little bit on how to update in case this hasn't automatically updated for you guys. And then we'll get into a question and answer session where you guys can get all these specific questions that you guys have answered here today. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump into it. So really, this new update is really just meant to kind of streamline and enhance the speed at which you guys can create those takeoffs. Residential's takeoffs in specific are actually much faster, especially with the new area and hole template tools we have. We can come in here and create full kitchens or full bathrooms in just seconds and have a quote ready in minutes. Some of the new features here, we can set the default slab sizes and images for our all of our cut to size products. So not just our tile, but now stone tile, cut to size countertops, and even all the other cut to size products that we have there. We can also create instant 3D renderings because of these default slab sizes. We have new resizing functions for these pieces that really makes kind of adjusting these and some other details here that we'll actually touch on and get into more detail here in just a minute. So let's focus a little bit on how we can use some of these enhancements for residential estimating. I mentioned those area templates. We can use those to create either just general templates with general shapes, or we can create full detail with specific products, edge details, sink cutouts, and we can have those automatically come in with all the pricing, the labor pricing, any fabrication pricing, all that can come in just an instant with a click and a drag from one template now. So now we can pull those in, have some instant 3D renderings, be able to share these with your team by exporting and sharing these through the database, and then creating those professional quotes so you can have those ready. You can have this in a showroom, for example, and have a customer come in and have this ready for them in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They're ready to sign on the proposal and have that into fabrication that day, if possible. So this is a little bit how we can apply this for residential. We can also use some of these new updates in commercial estimating. We can also use the area tools here as well. I find the hole templates to be very useful. We can actually use these for some of those standard sink sizes that you guys use. We can create and save those for this project and any future project that you guys are working in. And we can include, again, edge details, the sink labor cost, the sink for supplying the sink. We can include the cost for that as well. And then we can, of course, bring this over and continue this into the automatic slab layout generation with the slab optimizer, or we can get a little bit more detailed with the dry lay to kind of create those custom vein matched or book matched walls that we might need. So from here, we'll kind of get into our demo here. So I'm going to switch gears into the MeasureSquare program. So just go ahead and switch tabs here real quick. So I just want to make sure, Keelan, can you guys still see my screen there? I want to make sure we're still good after switching there.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys. So we'll kind of jump into things here. We can see how we have, right now we have this kind of general kitchen. We can see at the bottom, I have a couple different kitchens in here already. So we can come in here and create these pretty quickly. But now with the new template tools, instead of having to draw out each one of these individual pieces, I can simply come in here, find a template. You can see I have an L shape in here already. I can click and drag this into place. We can just drop this in. Right now, this looks like it might be a little bit too long. So if I want to, I can come in here and find this edge. I think this is probably closer to maybe 75. We can just type this dimension in here, and you see it's going to automatically adjust this piece here. We can actually come in here and see with this template that we just brought in, we can come in here and adjust any of these edges here. So maybe we want to change this to 60 inches. We can make this change. And one other thing you might notice, when I'm making these changes, you can actually see there is these two circles, one with a little colored dot little colored green dot in here, this is actually my anchor point. So if I wanted to select this edge and maybe change the dimension from this edge, again, if I make this 30 inches instead, it's going to actually push this out from the right to the left side now, instead of the previous dimension before. So we have a lot of control now in which way all these edges pull or push in relation to the other edges here as well. Again, we have this 85-inch edge. Right now we're pushing from this top corner here. We can change this to 90 inches and make that change, and you'll see that automatically update here. But again, if we come back and again make this 85 inches, we can actually use Control Tab to switch our anchor point and hit 85 from this edge. You'll see it's going to pull in this bottom edge here where we have this segmented piece. So again, it's going to give us a lot of different controls when we're kind of adjusting and manipulating some of these countertops here. So I'm going to delete this piece here and just kind of bring in this U-shaped piece here instead. Again, we can use this in a lot of different ways. We can pull in this edge here as well if we want to change this to 70 inches. Again, we'll just change this down here back to 25 to make that the same depth for our countertop here. And I can also bring in something like this island with this waterfall. When I bring in this island here, for example, you can actually see we have all the edge details or kind of edge details going around our island and down the waterfall edges. And we also have a miter edge going around all of our laminate leg pieces here as well. One other thing you might notice is the new slab image. So when we bring in this material, it automatically will generate this slab image by default. And you can see right now in the options setting, we have the cut to size texture turned on. I can switch this. I can turn this off if I want to. You'll see that's just going to bring this to the estimating colors. That's what we see up here. I can also switch this to the dry lay texture. We haven't applied anything in the dry lay texture yet. So again, this is just going to default to the blue color that we have now. I'm going to turn this back to the cut to size texture for a second. You'll notice that we have this big U shape here. Right now, this piece is bigger than the typical slab size. But if we go to this piece and start to add seams, which we'll have to do anyway, we'll actually add a seam here at the corner. You'll see this piece is automatically going to generate a slab image. And as soon as these other pieces are resized to fit within a slab, it's going to generate the slab image for that piece as well. So this is a great check to make sure that all these pieces are going to fit within those typical slab sizes. We don't have to go through to the worksheet or the slab optimizer to see if it's too big or not going to fit now. And there's another kind of neat feature here hidden within this template that I brought in here in the waterfalls. So in the past, we've always been able to add waterfalls through this laminate leg option by essentially, I'll redo this here on this leg here. We'll add a laminate. I will select this piece, and then we can adjust the width here. So we'll change this from 1.5 inches to 30 inches. So that essentially drops this leg to the floor. If we take a look at this piece in 3D here, we can essentially see that countertop with that leg. But if we jump back out of here real quick, we can now come back and hit the drop down next to the laminate or the splash and hit this second layer laminate. And now I can add a laminate to another laminate or a splash piece that I already have. We can do the same thing. I'll add another laminate here. And I'm going to select these pieces so that we can take a look at them in 3D here. We can see exactly what that's going to do, where it's going to add the laminate for both of these pieces. Now, right now, both of these pieces are intersecting. Let me jump back here real quick. We can actually come back and adjust these pieces. So I'm going to pull this back to my 45 right there. And the same thing here. What that's going to do is now we can take another look and see the mitered edge for these laminate return pieces. So I'm going to jump back out of here and just continue on here. I want to make sure I touch on all the different details here. So I mentioned before that we can actually set the slab size or the slab image for these different materials. If I switch back to the product and services tab, you can see right now I have this folder of different products in here. This is the Fantastico that we're using right now in the product. I can double click this to view this material. Looks like I changed the material in here at some point. this should be a different slab. So let's actually change this right now. We're going to change this to 72 by 125. And we're going to set the new slab with the import image option. We're going to find our slab images and use this Fantastico slab. So I can set this slab and get a preview here and click OK. And essentially this is going to set that material throughout our project here with that cut to size image, and hit save. And that's going to update that here for the project. Now, we were using this project material that had this set differently. That's why we have the difference here between these two projects, our products. Or if we come back in here, we can see all the different materials again, and we can actually swap these out very easily in the project if we want to or need to. For example, maybe we want to switch out the island here. We can select these pieces and just find, make this kind of a black island countertop. We can drop that in there and easily swap those materials. Going back to our slab size though, setting the slab size here does a couple things for us. It allows us to see those pieces that don't fit within the slab size here. We can also change whether that is rotatable or not. That will continue on along with the slab size into the slab optimizer. And then if we choose to, if we bring the slab optimizer output into the dry lay, it will bring those into the dry lay automatically and automatically apply these images here as well. All right, so a couple other things here in the update I want to touch on. We can also, I mentioned the templates before, we can use these for the area templates, the whole templates. We're also able to use these for elevations or rooms. These have been in the program in the past, but we've added some new updates to kind of give them a little extra power here. You can see we can bring in a full bathroom with all of our floor tile. If I want to view the walls, we can see it comes in with our base, all of our shower tile. I can come in here and swap these products very easily if I need to, either through the products tab or by just dragging them and dropping them into the areas that we need. But I can also just come in here and create showers. You can see I have a couple different shower templates in here at the bottom. I have this corner shower, for example. We can bring this in here. We can see all the walls for this shower, or I can bring in something like this little half shower or shower with a half curb or a half wall in here. Again, we can see all the different details, and this is just automatically pulled in from that template. We can add as much detail to these templates that we need. You can see I have quite a bit of detail in here with the material and all the products in here automatically, but you can come in here and just create general templates that you can then apply just the different products that you might need for those areas. Okay, so one last thing here in the takeoff side, in the latest update, this is might be one of us kind of smaller side updates, but I think it will have a big impact on actual day-to-day use here. When we create an area in MeasureSquare, the pattern position default is now going to default to the bottom left corner of that area. For example, if I create a new area here, you can see when this product comes in, the pattern by default will start in this bottom left. In the past, it would start this pattern position right here in the middle. This is a small little update, but meant to kind of save a lot of time. And we know that this might not be 100% of the time the solution for these pattern positions, but we believe this will be much more greatly used option compared to the center tile position that we used in the past. So a small update there, but I think it's going to save a lot of time for a lot of users, not having to use the pattern position tool in every single area. All right, so the next couple of feature improvements, enhancements we have are related to the slab optimizer and the dry lay. So I'm going to switch to the slab optimizer first. So let me come in here and load in a worksheet from this new project that we have. We'll just create a bit proposal by default. We just need a worksheet in here to pull in our slab optimizer. So we're going to come in here and load in our data, and we're going to click OK. You can see that's going to pull in all the different materials that I have in the project. I can come up and click Cut All or Start Cut if I want to do each one individually. I'm going to click All to run everything all at once here. This is going to run through the project, cut all the material that we have based on the slab sizes that we have from our product details page, and automatically lay out all the cut to size areas that we have. So if we switch to the Fantastico, for example, these are all the kitchens that we have. We can see this is going to be that kitchen island that we created, and then just some other materials that we have in the project here as well. Once I have all these kitchen layouts, we can go ahead and bring this over to our dry lay if we want to. So I'm going to first come in here and actually switch my takeoff here option. So we're going to estimate by tab, and I'm going to reload this worksheet to do this one more time. And I'm actually going to exclude some of these other kitchens. And we'll come back and we will load this one more time and cut this one more time. But this is just going to make it a little bit easier to bring in into our dry lay here in just a second, because of the fact we had some duplicated pieces on our area takeoffs. But we're going to switch over to our dry lay. And from here, we can actually just click on this Import Slab Optimizer option. And we can see if we switch over to our Fantastico, it's going to create that layout for this kitchen. We can see all these pieces laid out here automatically. If we want to, we can always come back and adjust some of these pieces, move some of these pieces around. We can always add splashes or other laminate pieces to this kitchen as well to get more complex detail, more complex layouts with these kitchens. But one feature I wanted to highlight here with this new option, we have the tile product over here, but let me switch this to a stone tile. So I have a stone tile here. We have two different tile products in MeasureSquare Stone Tile compared to MeasureSquare 8. We have stone tile versus ceramic tile. When we use something like a stone tile, which I will drop in right here, we can see we can automatically lay that out similar to the ceramic tile with the tile grid. But the stone tile will actually allow us to lay those out in the slab optimizer as well as the dry lay. So if I wanted to create a new stone tile slab, we can create that here. I'm going to add some slabs in here. We're going to add 3 slabs right now. I can actually just select some of those different areas, and we can drag and drop those in. Let me come back in here real quick. We're going to actually add some seams to this area. So we're going to click the even splitter, and we're going to choose to cut these by 18-inch segments, both horizontally and vertically. And now if we come back to the dry lay, you can see I can select multiple of these areas, drag these in here, and when I drop these in, it's actually going to automatically add the blade width that I have set for this material. We can rotate these pieces, but it's automatically going to set that blade width and adjust the size of those pieces or the spacing of those pieces to include that blade width. It looks like I can't quite fit these in here all together, so we're going to have to bring these down to the next slab. So we'll drop these in here. And again, we can bring these other pieces over here as well. Now let's rotate these. Again, we're not going to be able to fit them, but we should be able to squeeze them in over here if we want to. So we can get all these laid out a little bit easier now. We don't have to drag and drop individual pieces. It's going to automatically add the spacing in between all of those pieces when we add those in. One other thing that I actually missed in the slab optimizer, and I meant to mention here. So if I come back to the slab optimizer, once I have all these results, we can of course export these results with all these slab layouts to either a PDF or to AutoCAD, where it creates a DXF file for each layout. But we can actually export the remnant pieces as well. So we can click right here and export the remnant pieces into an Excel file. And then in this latest update, we can now actually import our slab sizes back into MeasureSquare. So in the past, you've probably seen the import Excel option, but now we can actually come in here and import either slabs or piece sizes straight into the slab optimizer. This is a feature that was available in StoneCut, where we could always bring in slab sizes, but now we can actually bring in slab sizes into the slab optimizer. which means we can actually export remnants and bring those remnants back into the slab optimizer for a future project as well. So I think that runs through the extent of the updates, all of the new features, enhancements from this latest update. We're going to go ahead and switch back to the presentation here real quick. So we're going to jump in. Just wanted to run through real quick on how to update to this latest build. If you guys don't have this already, I can jump back into the program here in just a minute and kind of touch on how to make sure that auto update feature is enabled. But if it's not automatically updated, at the top of MeasureSquare, you should see the build number. It might be tough to see in this presentation here, but again, we can jump back and show you on the blown up view here in a second. But if you don't have it updated, you can always go in MeasureSquare to the Cloud tab, and then that will bring you to the MeasureSquare Cloud. You can also go to cloud.measuresquare.com on any browser. It will bring you to the same page. Once you log in, you can find the software download on the bottom left of that page. That will open up the software download window where you can then choose to download the MeasureSquare Stone version. This will always download the latest version of that program where you can then go through and install that into your program like you would any typical software there. So here we'll go ahead and jump back to the questions and answers. If anybody has any specific questions, we can go ahead and add those to the Q&A sections. James, Key, was there anything else that you guys wanted me to touch on here today? Anything else that you thought I missed here before we throw it out to the general session here?
No, Matt, I think you did a great job. I appreciate you giving everyone a run through of those new improvements. I do notice that Crystal had a great question as far as, can you make a template for cladding fireplaces in stone?
That's a great question. So let's go ahead and build that. I imagine we could build out that template in stone here with some of the new features available in stone. I should be able to do that pretty quickly and easily here. So if I wanted to draw out an area, we'll just draw a rectangular area. This might not be to scale, so give me some leeway there, but I'm going to try to draw the general shape of this fireplace and maybe add a couple of details here as well. We'll say this is 33 inches from either side. I'm going to add a material here. We'll use that black again. We'll add our laminates. So I'm just going through here and I'm going to try to add some laminates in here to kind of give us the base of this fireplace. I'm going to extend these. We're going to say that this is, say, 10 inches. And of course, all these dimensions are adjustable. We'll also add in some laminate pieces here. And I'm going to come in and zoom in here. I'm going to turn off the cut to size texture for right now. It makes it a little bit easier to see. And I'm going to add in another split by distance option. Not the split by distance, the split edge segment by distance. We're going to do this at 4 inches. I'm going to add this to both sides. And I know I'm going a little bit quick here. Just trying to give you an example of how I might create this fireplace. So we're going to change this again. We're going to make this 36 inches. And just to kind of give you an idea of what this is doing right now, we take a look at this in 3D. Oh, I made these as laminates. I needed to make these as splashes. My mistake. Let me redo that real quick. So again, we're going to change this to, we'll say 36 inches. And now we can see Now, if we take a look at this one more time, now we can see we kind of have our fireplace almost built here. I can build a mantle and add that in here in just a second. So let's actually do that real quick. I can actually create the mantle. Let's do that as a separate material so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm going to create this as a separate piece right here. We'll make this white. I have this in the project already. So we'll drag and drop that in. And then for this mantle, I'm going to use the laminate piece again to wrap this around. We can change the depth of our laminate or the width of our mantle here. Let's make that 6 inches. I'm going to drop this back onto this piece. Right there. And with this piece, I can actually set the height in 3D. So because I set my my fireplace to be 36 inches tall, we can set this to be, again, we'll say 36 inches high. And now, and again, we take a look at this in 3D, we can kind of see our fireplace in 3D here. Obviously, again, I can adjust some of these sizes, some of these dimensions, but of course I can come back and I can just save this entire area. We can come back and save this entire area, right click here. We'll say add as area template, fireplace. And you can see it's going to add this in here. We can now switch over to a new tab, for example. Let's create a new fresh tab. And again, I can just drag and drop this fireplace into place here again. And I should come in here separately. We should be able to see this in 3D. Again, with all those details that we added, the height from this this little mantle here, along with the little step up from the floor.
Nice work on the fly, Matt. I'm impressed that you pulled that off with no reference materials. It's not my style, but a very good explanation of the workflow there. Do we have any other questions? I know we're about coming up on time, but for those of you who are still in the session, we'd love to stay on for a few more minutes if you have anything you'd like Matt to answer for you.
Thank you, James. Yeah, thank you, Crystal. That was a good question. Those are kind of fun to kind of be able to go through and figure out on the fly. But yeah, I think a lot of the credit there goes to our dev team. We've been doing a lot of work to kind of build up the capability of MeasureSquare and the splash piece, the splash tools, especially adding some of the wrapping pieces there with the laminate on laminates, some of the other height in 3D, allowing us to kind of build out the mantle there. How can I exclude item, etc., that I put info into the drawing? That's a good question, Chad. When you're looking to exclude items, are you talking about from the worksheet, from something like this, or are you talking about trying to hide specific areas, maybe for kind of a value engineering proposal? Okay, so there's a couple ways we can hide things within the worksheet here. Within MeasureSquare, we can always add tags and different groupings that way in MeasureSquare, in MeasureSquare Stone Tile. MeasureSquare 8 by default adds kind of a default grouping based on the rooms. And MeasureSquare Stone Tile has the rooms as well, but we also have the areas that are technically all separate pieces. So it's kind of like having a separate room for each individual piece. However, one way that MeasureSquare Stone and Tile kind of gets around that that drawback is with the tagging feature. So you'll see if I come in here and I select all these pieces in the fireplace, for example, I can come over to my tags on the right side. And right now, because this is a fresh new project, these are all tag 1 through tag 4. We can actually rename these tags to see them here and also in the worksheet. But you can come in here and actually just add tags directly in here. So we'll say this is a fireplace. I'm going to come down here. We're going to create a new tab we'll say this is a demo bathroom. I'm going to bring in this bathroom in here as well. Let me make sure I have that tagged. Yep, so we have that in here tagged as well. And we can bring in different details, different things like that. need access to features in 8. Let me get to your question in just a minute, Michael. So yeah, we can have these separately in here with MeasureSquare with all these tags. If I come to my worksheet, if I click reload here, let's actually just focus on these last two areas. The tags are a great way to come in here and hide different things, different items that way. So you can see I can come in here and I can show everything by area if I want to, like this. Let me add the group name to the column here. So essentially this is showing each individual area, each individual piece in MeasureSquare with each material associated with it. But I can also come in here and separate this out if I want to use that tag 1 that we just used to create this. And we can separate that all out by area. If I collapse all of this, we can actually see each individual piece, or again, I can collapse this here as well, so I can just see the bathroom or the fireplace in that unit. So the tags are very customizable. You can use these in a lot of different ways, and you can get a little creative with this to kind of separate and hide different things, different areas within your project. Does that answer your question, Chad? This example might not be robust enough, but we can come back and that's a good question. When I hide it, no, it stays in the calculation. Anything that is within here is stayed in this calculation. You can see in this grouping, for example, these are all the different areas I have in my bathroom. It's going to total up my square footage at the top. Okay, so if I want to keep it out of the calculation, okay, so that's a good question. So if you want to keep it out of the calculation, we can do that in 2 ways. I can very simply just select any line item here. You can see that we have this delete option. So I can delete an individual line like this. If I want to pull the item name out, for example, and collapse this item name, I can come in here and delete an entire material just by deleting that line item. If we collapse this again, you can see my install labor is gone. So we can delete it that way. One thing to note, deleting an item here, if we reload this worksheet, it's going to pull that back in from the takeoff. If I want to hide it temporarily from the takeoff, I can come back to my takeoff here, and I can do this in a couple of ways. Right now, I'm estimating by tab within the project. I can come in here and choose to estimate by tab or by phase, and then we can set things to different phases. Or I can simply right-click on this piece and just hit deactivate, and that's going to deactivate that from my project. So you can see it's still there. You can see the products are still listed here. There's no quantities though right now. If we go to this worksheet and hit reload, if I again just focus on these two tabs that we've been working in, you can see it's not going to bring in any of my bathroom areas. We just have our fireplace material. Does that answer your question, Chad? Thank you. So if you need access, Michael, if you need access to features in MeasureSquare 8, is this ran separately or is it a toggle in Stone Tile? So Stone Tile is a separate program from MeasureSquare 8. So if you're looking for features in MeasureSquare 8 that are not in Stone Tile, it's likely related to the carpet functions, so the sheet goods and the roll goods. I know there's a couple other differences in the print screen or in the worksheets, but I think that's the main difference in the capabilities here between the programs. They are separate programs. They do create separate files here, so that they're not designed to work together in that sense. I'm not sure if that answers your question. Is that kind of what you're asking there? I want to make sure he's still here. Yep. All right. Do we have any other questions? Anything else? Michael, if that didn't answer your question, let me know. We can go back to that. But
he did. He said, yes, thanks.
okay, awesome. I might have missed that. Oh, I see that now. So yeah, that kind of covers everything in the new features, the new updates here. The dev team has been pretty hard at work to get some of these new features in here. We're always looking for feedback, always looking for kind of response and what kind of works best for you guys. So we're always looking to import that and integrate that with the program here. But I want to thank everyone again.
So it looks like we still have about 20 folks on the session today. Now would be a great time if you have any last minute questions, or if Michael or Chad's questions kind of jogged anything loose for you folks. We're happy to stay on maybe another few minutes, answer maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Otherwise, if there's no more questions for the day, I want to say thank you from our team here at MeasureSquare for attending this Stone and Tile webinar. And as always, if you have any suggestions or improvements or need any help, you can always reach out to the support team at MeasureSquare as well by just going to support@measuresquare.com and shooting us an email.
Yep. Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. Just real quick, I'm looking at the polls here. It looks like we're about 50% that are residential primarily, 50% that are about 50-50. Looks like our topics results got a little bit more feedback here. Looks like I got a lot of questions or a lot of feedback looking for more questions on cut to size takeoffs. Some other questions about slab layouts and things like that. Did anybody have anything specific there? If not, I can touch on a few things there as we wrap up. If anybody wants to see that, I see some thumbs up signs. So we'll touch on some cut to size takeoffs here, and then touch on slab layouts as well. So I talked about how we can come in here and create all sorts of different templates here. We created the fireplace template. We can create L shapes, U shapes, again, with as much or little detail in these as we want. I can also kind of draw the old-fashioned way, which we can just come in here and use the draw area tool. And I can use this to draw, move some of these out of the way. I can use this to draw in free space, either by just adding dimensions, or I can draw on top of a plan that I've imported in here as well. I can come in here and just trace this out. You'll see in a second here, I'm going to show you another way we can draw here if we have rectangular shapes as well. One nice thing when we're drawing here, you can see I can left click that last point. And once I have that last point, I can actually just right click. I don't have to go back to that first point again. I can right click to close and create that area. So another way to draw, instead of clicking our way around the perimeter, I can also click on this rectangular area option. And I actually like to make sure that this drag to rectangular option is checked off or unchecked. So click right here, and you'll see I can start this first point. And as I drag my mouse, you can see that that horizontal dimension is highlighted and changes as I move my mouse. But if I want to, I can actually type in the dimension there and then hit Tab on the keyboard. Tab will switch to my vertical dimension. I can then come in here, we can adjust that as well. I can hit Tab again to go back to that horizontal, or I can just hit Enter to finish and create that area. So that can allow me to create areas like that pretty quickly and easily. Rectangular shapes are pretty simple that way. And then I can come back, if this is an island, for example, we can come in here, add our laminate edges as our waterfall. And then again, I can just select these. I'm going to hold Control to left click both of those and change that width and height to 30 inches there. A couple other things here. If I'm drawing out this area, I might want to add some rounded corners or things like that. I can do this in a couple ways. If I right click on this island, for example, we can click on Area Edit, and I can round all the corners. We can set the radius. We'll say this is going to be 4 inches, and it's going to automatically round all those corners for us. I can also right click again. We'll say Area Edit. This time we'll click Round Corners. And now instead of round all corners, I have the round single corner option. Let's make this a 2-inch radius. And now I can actually come in here and specify which corner I want to round. So I can just left click each one of these pieces and add that edge detail that way. All right, awesome. So I see, let's see, I think that covers most of the things here in quickly drawing these takeoffs. The last thing we might want to add for something like this, again, we have our splash tools. So again, I can just add some of these in here. If I want to, again, I can come in here and actually add a second layer laminate to something like this top. And what that's going to do is just add another edge, essentially kind of a top here. It would be kind of like a bar top to this piece. So if we wanted to extend this, we'll say 12 inches. The only thing I might want to do is then extend this side here to maybe 114. And what that's going to do is if I select this area, take a look at this in 3D, we can see that countertop along with those splash return pieces in here as well. And again, if I want to add that cut to size texture to these areas, we just need to add a vertical seam here at this corner. So we'll add one probably right here. And then just double check this with the cut to size. Yep, we can see that's all going to be added in here. Okay, so once we have all of this in the takeoff here, we can do this in a couple of different ways. If I want to come to the slab optimizer, we can come in here to create our slab layouts. We just need to pull this in from our worksheet. When I do this, when I load in my data, let me actually make sure I reload my latest worksheet here. We'll say OK. When I come in here and load the slab optimizer, when I load this data, I can do this without any grouping here. I also get to choose which worksheet I want to pull this from. But when I choose the grouping, we can see we can choose any of the tags that we've added, or the tabs or the phases. And if I come down here, I choose tag 1, for example, this will separate out my kitchens and the fireplaces in my separate materials. You can also come in here, set this to any of the other tags that we've added in the project. If we don't choose a grouping, it's just going to cut each material separately, but combine any pieces throughout tags or tabs. So we'll click OK. One other option we can see in here is this rotatable option. So this is something we can set based on the piece product details in the takeoff tab, but we can also adjust this here in the slab optimizer. If we need to keep any pieces consistently horizontal or vertical, we can actually set the vane direction in the takeoff, and then we can uncheck this box here to make sure that all of those pieces are cut horizontally, for example, if we have like a travertine. So this is a good way to make sure that all of those pieces are consistent. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit this cut all button to run this through. Again, this is the automatic layout. We'll go ahead and switch to the dry lay here for the kind of more manual layout in just a second. So again, we can see all these pieces come through. We can see all these materials. These are our fireplace pieces, some of our showers and things like that. Again, if we go over to our dry lay and just load in our dry lay options, we'll click OK. Again, we can see those materials that we brought in from our slab optimizer. We can see these pieces laid out. If I want to, I can always select any of these pieces, move these around. You can actually see it get adjusted in the dry lay view over here. If we want to double click on any of these pieces, it will actually jump to that piece in the slab layouts, and then I can easily come in here and manipulate this piece. So this is the simple way to do it. If we're bringing this in from the slab optimizer, again, it's going to automatically lay all these out. If I want to, I can come here, remove all, and I'll show you. We can also come in here and drag in pieces manually. So I can come in here, select this area, and just drag and drop these pieces. Again, we'll just rotate these here, drop these into place. And right now, we have a couple settings. I have a couple settings turned on. So if I click right here, you can see we have the auto docking setting turned on, the auto rotate. I go back and forth on this one. Sometimes I turn this on, sometimes I turn this off. I tend to leave the auto docking on, and then I can just move pieces here. That's what's snapping these pieces in place. If I hold control, we can actually disable that manually, so you can adjust that kind of as you're going along. So I tend to leave that on and just turn that off if I need to. But it works very it works in a kind of smart way here. It grabs, it snaps to whatever piece whatever corner you grab closest to. So you'll see if I grab the bottom right, it's going to snap to that bottom right. If I grab on this top left, it'll snap to that top left corner. Does that answer all those questions about slab layouts? Does anybody have any other questions about slab layouts, or maybe shop drawings or room build outs? I know we're a little bit long here on time, but I still see we have a couple of people still in the attendee list. So if if you guys have any other questions, feel free to add that to the Q&A list over there. Oh, I see, Chad. Any reason why my image for material isn't being used? Okay, so I see any reason why is a kind of question here. Any reason why my image for the material isn't being used? I turned it on under options and imported it into the material, but it still shows as a color, not as a texture. Okay, so a couple of things there, just some troubleshooting here. I just want to make sure I'm kind of running down the list here. I'm assuming you brought this in here and set the slab here. So we want to set the slab here. There's also this import image option, and that is not used for that. It's something separate. We want to set it here. I'm assuming you set that there and went through that process. If you did, a couple other things I want to make sure that are set here as well. You can actually see right now in my program, we have this little yellow warning symbol. So if you change something in the database, but it is already in your project, it's essentially going to create a separate version of that. Anytime we bring something in from our product database into our project item list or into our project, it's going to create a copy of that product that we can then change. And this is done on purpose so that we can change this product for the project and not have it affect past projects. But this also means that our database item is going to be different. But when we get this little symbol here, we can click right here. It's going to open up our conflict window. It's going to show us all the differences between our database item and our project item. And we can actually use these little arrows here. You can see I can push all the details from my project item to my database item with this arrow here and hit save. And it's going to run through all my different pieces that I have. In this case, we'll push from the database to the project. Excuse me. And then just push all these changes in here as well. So we can do this for all these projects. As soon as I finish this last one here and hit save, it's actually going to close this window for us. Excuse me. So once we have that updated, if that might be the reason that your product is not showing up, you might have added it to the database and not necessarily push that to the project item list. So you might need to push that to the project item list. If that is done and your cut to size texture is toggled on, the only last thing that might be holding that up is if the piece size is too big. So if you'll see if I extend this piece here to something that's going to be too big for a slab, you can see it's going to lose that cut to size texture. As soon as I extend this back down to size, it's going to bring that within the slab size and add the texture back in.
All right, great question there, Chad. So yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is if you're in that product template view, if you did just use the import image button in the top right, that's more of for like a lookbook type feature versus the displaying within the takeoff drawing. So if you have an image mapped there, that does not correspond to the ability to show it within the drawing there. So that might also be a potentiality. Any other questions, folks, before we wrap up?
You might have to cut me off, James, because I could probably go all day here.
Oh, I know, Matt. I know you're great at getting into Q&A mode here. So, all right, it looks like we don't have any additional questions here in the queue. So, thank you again to everyone for attending today's session. We really appreciate you guys making the time and helping us make the Stone and Tile product what it is. A lot of these great suggestions come directly from users like yourself. So, once again, if you ever want to reach out with a feature request or a support question, you can always reach out to the support team. And if anyone on your team is looking for more in-depth training where you want to do more of a one-on-one or a team webinar, you can reach out to Matt to schedule webinar training packages, and we can get you set up there as well. So thank you again for everyone making the time today, and we'll see you in the next webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks again, everyone.